Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Synergy Open Forum training. I'm joined today by Lucy and Maggie. So we have a full team here. I'm going to talk a little bit in the beginning. Somebody sent in a question about how to create a complex search and then add it to the clipboard in Synergy. So, hi, Josiane. Josiane actually sent this request. So the question was, she had seen in a conference, she had seen a complex search being used to analyze a case. And then that complex search was also included onto the clipboard along with some key rubrics. And the question was, how would you do that? And so I'm going to just replicate, Josiane, I'm going to replicate that search from that conference. And I have the screenshot here. So really the complex search was about I guess her food preferences, the patient's food preferences, which were very strong, and a generality. So the search here was, so she had a strong craving for cheese over and above everything. Even though it aggravated her, she had a very strong craving for cheese and fruits. And then she was aggravated strongly by coffee and also by cold. And so what the presenter did was to take these very peculiar things that were very peculiar about her and put them in a search, in a global search, and use global search to see the remedies that would come up. So cheese within 3 of desire. And then in the same remedy as fruits within 3 words of desire, in the same remedy as coffee within 3 words of aggravates, in the same remedy as cold within 3 words of aggravates. So you're basically looking for a remedy that has all 4 of these qualities. You could obviously turn all 4 of these into rubrics and put them on a clipboard. The difference between doing it on a clipboard versus doing it as global search as part of a reference library search is because the reference library accesses not just rubrics, but also a whole lot of primary literature, clinical literature, and so it just accesses many more resources than, and so this was the search. So I'm just going to hit return. And obviously there will not be a single rubric that will encompass all those aspects. And so you will see here that the search actually is not executing at all on the repertory side, and that it only executes on the reference library side. You can see that the search, this complex search, actually yielded 30 different remedies. And you can scroll through, obviously you can see there are several references for APIS. And so we're still going on APIS, we're past 6-7 screens. So now, if you just scroll through, okay, now we're in Argentum. So to scroll through the 10,000 references that came up to see all the 30 remedies is obviously just counterproductive. It's going to take too long, and you might miss while you scroll some remedies. So the easiest thing here, Josiane, is to use this plus sign. You see, when you hover over it, it says add search results to the clipboard. So when I click that, I don't even have a clipboard open, but it opens a clipboard and it puts the search on there. And so when I come here, you can see the search is added to the clipboard on the left, and here's the graph with the 30 remedies. And so, of course, if now you were going to do some kingdom analysis or look at a subclass or a plant family or an animal family, you could do that. You could also, let me just move us here to the side. You could also filter, over here, your reference library search and do a kingdom filter or a remedy filter. You can also, once you have the search that's run and you have, you haven't restricted it by anything, you can then come here and use some of these preset filters for animals, plants, or minerals, or you can apply a filter, a more complex filter here. And I know that, in that conference, I know that the case was analyzed as a plant case, and I think it was a superclass 4, subclass 4. So, you can, depending on how you're working, you can then restrict this to plants and just look at the plant remedies or that family. So that's how you would, creating a complex search is about extracting the most unique aspects of the case and then turning them into small mini global searches joined together by this proximity word of remedy. And then you try to find the remedy that those 3 or 4 or 5. I wouldn't go more than that, because then you're limiting the search in a way. So look for like 3 to 5 most peculiar aspects in your case and create a complex search. And then, try to narrow it down using some other things that you have learned about the patient. So are there any questions, Lucy and Maggie?
Brigitte did ask, she's wondering how to compare this method to the elimination, the crossing of rubrics.
So, yeah, the crossing of rubrics, I think, applies more when you have some larger, more general rubrics, and then you have 1 or 2 very unique characteristics, and you want to make sure that the results you consider have absolutely include those remedies. And so then you cross your larger rubrics with that 1 or 2 smaller specific qualities in those in the smaller rubrics. So that's one thing, that's one difference. And here, and the other difference is, of course, the repertory is an artificial extraction from other material, and sometimes it's not always possible to extract that complete symptom and put that in a single rubric in the repertory. So many times to actually, the way that symptom came up in approving, to include all of the information of that complete symptom in the repertory, you have to actually break it up into multiple rubrics, because that is the language of the repertory. So many homeopaths prefer to create these search terms or these mini custom rubrics in the reference library, because in the reference library, you are looking, yes, you're looking at all the reverse rubrics from the looking at all the rubrics through a reverse repertory, but you're also actually searching all of the primary material or the secondary material without it having been converted into this repertory language. So it's more direct, and it reaches the original material instead of the converted material. So in a way, it's considered more direct, more honest, to be looking directly into the patient words, whether from clinical literature or from provings. So that's the difference. You know, we can easily, these are not complex things, right? Desiring cheese, desiring fruit, coffee, and cold aggravating. These can easily be converted into rubrics. I think the preference is just the material and the quality of the material, and people prefer to work in repertories and people prefer to work in references. I think that's the major difference. Other questions?
Roopali, Karen would like to know, to understand more about the miasms on the clipboard. So maybe you could explain the different colors and how to see what the miasm is, and also maybe how to set the miasm on the graph if it's not already turned on.
Sure. Yes. So at the moment, I have Rajan's miasms turned on. That's Dr. Shankaran's miasms. And as you know, he expanded the original 3 Hahnemannian miasms to 10. And if you hover, so let's talk about how to turn them on. You would turn them on from user preferences. So you would come into user preferences and you would go to, I think, let's see, clipboard settings here. And here you can select your miasm. So we have included traditional miasms, Rajan's miasms, the homeopathic facial analysis method, the Bentley's miasms, and then Bjorndal's miasms. I know a little bit about HFA, but I have to confess that I don't know anything at all about Bjorndal's miasms. I tend to traditionally, I mean, I use traditional miasms or Rajan's miasms. I have those turned on. You could, you know, you could put these on. And then once you've done that, you can come here and you can hover over the miasms and they should pop up at the bottom. Let me move my zoom bar. Here. So I know that you see, so when I hold on to the blue, at the bottom, it says psoric. When I move over to the green, it says psychotic. This is a lighter blue, so it's malarial. So you can just hover over tubercular, let's see, cancer. I think the white one is cancer. Sometimes you just have to, oh, maybe this one is cancer, psoric. The purple is typhoid. So I don't always remember. I know the remedies and what their miasms are. So I don't check, but sometimes I will just hover over and it will remind me. So red is syphilitic and orange I know is leprosy. So some of the colors I know, but some I don't. And then some of the remedies, I remember the miasms and some I don't. So you can always come here and hover over them and it will tell you which one it is. What else do we have?
Brigitte is asking, where can we get more information on the miasms, on the journals miasms?
The Bjorndal, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
That's a good question. I have, let's see if the Kingdom Graph has any information. So we come to miasm overview and hopefully, yes. So Andreas Bjorndal has broken the 3 traditional miasms into 9. So if we click on here, so clearly there is some philosophy here, and I'm not sure that we have his book in the system. We can definitely look at it, and I don't know if I click on something, if it goes somewhere. So I guess it takes the 3 and it moves it. You can see the broken down, I guess, and how he thinks about these 3 miasms. I'm not sure what the up, down, and I don't know what inter stands for. It could be intermittent or it could be something else. But there is information here. And then we can also check if we have anything here. And I'm just going to type, no. So we don't have, I guess we were given these in from macrometry, and we've inherited them and included them, but we don't seem to have any references that would talk about what they are. Yeah, there's nothing coming up for Bjorndal. Let me try Andreas. No, but it's possibly something that, you know, there might be books available on the different book websites, and there might be some information available on the internet.
Thanks, Roopali. Hasnat is asking, how can he read the books?
Well, you find a book that you want to read and you can just open it and read it. So for example, if you were to come here and just click this, you see it starts from the introduction, and then you don't have to click anything else. Actually, if you just click on the name of the book and not a section in the book, then you can just read the book. You see words used, it tells you how to read there's an introduction here. You can keep reading and then you can go down. So that's the whole introduction. There's a write-up. You can basically just read it as is. And then I think once the introduction ends, then, you know, I think that's the about the book. And then you can go to the first remedy, second remedy, third remedy. And
Roopali, the
yeah.
type to search window there is very useful in that window.
The type to search is useful to find the book, right?
No, over on the right-hand side when you're in the book.
Yes. Well, I mean, that's useful if you're looking for something specific. But if you're just like, I mean, I think the question was, how would you read the book? Then you just read the book by finding the book and then clicking on the book. You can look for specific things in the book by using this type to search window. You know, if you're, I don't know, specifically looking for cough, for example, you can just do that. And I'm in, you know, I'm in a specific, I think I'm still in, so let's go to, I don't know, yeah. And then you can find something. You can see if cough is mentioned in that section that you're in. Possibly the Soul of Remedies I mean, the Soul of Remedies is not a good example to look for cough in, but you could search for terms within the chapter that you're in. You can also use bookmarks. So you can add a bookmark where you are, which, you know, the chapter of the book that you're reading. And then you can go back and let's say you're analyzing a patient or looking at other things. You can always come back and look at your bookmark and it'll take you back to where you were. So there are some features here. We're working on some more advanced features, which will come out, you know, later in some of the later releases, where you could read it more like a Kindle experience, where you could add notes and highlight things. But this is something we're working on at the moment to enhance the reading experience.
Roopali, I have a question from Josiane. She would like to understand how SHS tells us more about the superclasses.
So at the moment, this is very new work and it's not completed yet, even with the team that's working on superclasses. So what is included at the moment, and I'm just going to close some of these modules out. So actually what is included, Josiane, is a discussion. I'm trying to move my Zoom bar. In Vital Quest, if you come to VQ notes, then here you see where the big S is. You can see there is superclass information. and some hyperlinks to specific information related to particular superclasses, but this is not fully constructed yet, but there is still some information here. The information has currently not been included in our filters because the work is incomplete yet. So all of the superclass work, including all of the different kingdoms into the superclass, because the filters really, for filter, you need to know what you're going to filter by. And if some of these aspects of the superclass are still blank, then the filters haven't been modified yet in the program. What we are trying to do is, include more information here as the team is ready to publish it. Some of it is going to come here. And then the other place that we're going to try and put it in is in the sensation repertory, which is also the repertory that is connected to VitalQuest. And so here we would try and put some superclass information. So as and when the team makes it available to us, we're going to include it in the program. But at the moment, it's just in the VitalQuest notes.
Roopali, on that, Brigitte is asking, like, what is searchable in the VitalQuest notes? For example, can I search to see what superclass stramonium belongs to?
So that, I think that goes back to filtering, but through VitalQuest notes. So the notes themselves, when you access them from this menu here, when you access them from here, they're not searchable, right? So you could, you could come here and you could read, and this is more of a passive provision of information. You can't actually go in here and check that stramonium belongs to superclass 1 or superclass 6, actually belongs to superclass 6, subclass 6, but you can't get to it from here, from VitalQuest notes.
Roopali, sorry to cut across you. The find field there on the top top left-hand corner.
Here.
Yes. What's that used for?
So that is used to find a word or a term in this section that I'm in. It's the same as the type to search in the references that I just showed earlier for the previous question. But this is not, I mean, I guess you could type stramonium here, but it would not come up because it's not in subclass 1. So in a way, you almost have to know that stramonium is in subclass 6. It won't come up here. So this is useful only to find something that you think might be in here, but it's not a way to find out what superclass or subclass is stramonium. That's approaching the question in a completely different way. And that's what I'm trying to say, is that in the superclass, subclass information that we have currently in the program, it's not possible to put a query in like, what subclass is or superclass is stramonium and have that be answered. The information hasn't been input into the program to be able to answer a query phrased in that particular way. There is sort of passive information, so you can go and read about it. The other attempt is to add some information in the sensation rep. So possibly there might be some filtering opportunities through VitalQuest analysis when you add it onto a clipboard. I think there might be some future possibilities. I think we're working on this. But VitalQuest notes is searchable through books. When you come here and you just type VQ, you can see that all of that information in VQ notes has also been put in the reference library. So it's searchable not through VQ notes, but it's searchable when you come to the reference library. So you can definitely filter your searches through, these particular volumes on these groupings. But you can see that there is no superclass, subclass information here. So VQ notes is searchable in reference library, but not the subclass, superclass information, because that hasn't been included yet. It hasn't been released to us. What has been released has been added in a passive way to VQ notes. And
Roopali,
then,
can I
yeah,
cut across you too real quickly?
absolutely. Go, yeah,
In Kingdom Graph area,
yeah.
there is a category, and so maybe it's not also, it might be a work in progress.
I think, yes, there is. So yeah, this is work in progress. I don't know. It's interesting. I have not tried. You can see that I'm not bringing up anything, but I don't know. Let's see. We still have. Let's see if I can restrict that by superclass 4, subclass 4. And
Well, it has to be blue in order to make it to the graph. If it's white, then it
it's
won't.
not. So yes, so that's what I feel like. This information is still a work in progress. So, superclass 4.
And if you click on row
Row
4,
4, but
will have-
subclass 4, I mean, we should be able to put the Dillonity in. I mean, that case was a Dillonity case, so I was just thinking, but I think this is all still under construction. If we go to subclasses here, subclass 1, only this has been populated. Let's try. Yeah, so that works. So it's working in fits and starts, like, as things get populated, you might be able to do stuff, but as you can see, there's really, let's see, actually, let me go back and see what we have. Yeah, so we don't even have the Solanalis. So you wouldn't be able to navigate from there to Stramonium, because only these 2 orders have been populated. And even that, I don't know. Yeah, China. Okay. So we're working on it, and we hope to have it in the program as the team makes it available. We'll keep putting it in.
But Rupali, is it not true to say that one of the reasons you were getting such limited blue colors there is because you only have 30 remedies in your graph?
No. The blue colors in here, to Lucy's point, the blue colors are ones that have been coded for in the back, and the white ones there's no information here. So, for example, that case was a Dillonity case that Josiane had mentioned. And so, there's definitely like plant families here. I think the reason that I'm not getting results could be because there are 30 remedies, but also because some of these boxes aren't active yet. Yeah, none of this. And there's no animals here anyway. The animal box for superclass 1. Yeah, I think this is just still under construction. Any other questions?
Kat is asking if you could go back to bookmarks and just walk through the bookmarks again.
Sure.
How you show them, how you would use them, how you delete them.
Okay. So you would just, let's say, let me clear the search out. Let's say I was reading about Ambra grisea. So I would come up here and I would choose, you know, if you have a color preference, I would choose a bookmark. So green is highlighted and I would say add, and then I can say okay. And actually it doesn't show up. I mean, it shows, but it's kind of, let me go with yellow and say, okay. So now you can see that there is a bookmark here. And there's a little icon here that shows that this has been bookmarked. And so I can, you know, then, and maybe I was comparing Ambra with Burita. And so then I put a different colored bookmark. You don't have to, you can just stay with yellows and they would all be yellow bookmarks. And so I compared that, but then I, you know, went away and all of the things that I was doing are all gone. Then you would just come up here and you would say view, and it shows your 2 bookmarks. And so you can either choose one or both and say, okay, and it will pull up the 2 things that you had bookmarked, which is the Burita and the Ambra. So they're both here. They're not going to go away till you actually delete them. So I could just close the reference library and then I could come back and be here and then, you know, view my bookmarks again, and it shows my bookmarks, right? So they'll stay until you delete them. And as you can see, you probably have already figured out, you would just select them and you would say delete to delete them. So then when you go back in view, you can see no bookmarks saved. And so now they're not going to come back. So this is a nice way if you've just been doing research or if you were working on a patient and somewhere in terms of reading up stuff or comparing remedies in the reference library, and you have to walk away, you can bookmark things and then you can come back later and pull those references up again without having to remember them or write them down somewhere. And in case actually, since I'm here, in case you don't remember, the other, you know, cool thing is to look at things side by side when you're doing that. So, you know, you can do that, and then you can open another remedy in a new tab. Since I'm here, I might as well show this, and then you can just click one and it will, you know, display the other one side by side, 2 references side by side. And that's a nice way to compare remedies too. And then you can always also bookmark them. You come to add. Remember, to add bookmarks, you click on add, and then to view your bookmarks, you go on view. And you can say, okay, then you can come here and you can do the same thing. And, oh, did I mess it up? It's not showing in green again. And then you can bookmark this one. That is purple. Okay. Oh, I guess so. You would have to release the comparison. And then you can bookmark the second one. So when you're comparing the 2 remedies, you can bookmark them, but you can bookmark them when they're tabs, and then you can compare them. And they're both bookmarked. So, and you can always come back and pull them up again. Any other questions?
Elizabeth is asking if you could show us, please, how to search for all the rubrics in a particular remedy.
All the rubrics in a particular remedy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's I think 3 different ways to do that. you can do that just up here in the reference, in the repertory section. And here too, there are two different ways to do that. So you can just, actually, let's not do the mind section. That's such a big section. Let's look at smell. And I don't have usually my remedies turned on. So you can turn on your remedies. And then let's say you want to limit just this chapter. You can just choose, you can type a remedy. I just typed, carcinosin and apply. And what it's going to do is just for that chapter, it will limit the rubrics just to carcinosin. So this is it's just by chapter. Then the second way to do it would be to come here and just say carcinosin and apply. And now that filter, that remedy filter, has been applied to all the chapters in all the repertories. So if you go into kidney, and I have not made the remedies visible, because that's how my preference is, but you can see that the kidney rubrics are now just for carcinosin. They have been limited, even though it doesn't say carcinosin here, but we could, just actually change that. If you can come here, say, okay. And now, if you come here, you can see that it's been limited by carcinosin. And you could open any chapter and it will do that for you. It will just show you the carcinosin rubrics. So this is one way to do this through the repertory section. You can also, you don't have to, you can just come up here. You can go to books and you can type, let's do complete, and you can see all of the reverse repertories show up. And you can come up here and type CARC. So I'm just typing now in the left-hand pane, and you can see that carcinosin comes up, right? Because I just typed CARC. And we're looking for Burnett. So I will click on Burnett. And now you have all of the rubrics for the remedy, starting from generalities. And so actually, if you scroll down, it will give you all of the rubrics, and it will keep going and then into the next section, into the next section. If you're only interested in a particular section, you can just click that section and it will just give you the carcinosin rubrics in reverse order. So from the difference between doing it in the repertory section and doing it here is that in the repertory, those rubrics can be added to the clipboard. And when you do it from here, it's more for study purposes or checking particular rubrics for a remedy to see if something is in there or not. But from here, you can't really add to a clipboard. But if you were to do it from the repertory, you can add it to a clipboard. The third way to do it would come to advanced search, and you can search for remedies and you can add it here. Let's look for a small remedy. And I'm going to say apply. You have to choose the repertory that you want the rubrics from. And so I'm going to suggest a small repertory. And then you can choose whether you want all the rubrics for that remedy from all the sections or just the one section. If I run this as let's try all sections. If I run this as a search now, it's going to give me all of the rubrics for Calc Muir from all of the chapters from this repertory that I picked. And actually, these rubrics are also, it's possible to add them to the clipboard. So if I just click on mind and consciousness and I hit my return or enter key, you can see that the rubric got added. And so here are, all the different rubrics for CalChem. So this is the third way. And actually, I believe that it's possible. Let me try it. And you see, you can choose one of the remedies. Let's say I choose this and I just run a repertory search, and I'm going to do this here. I've done this before. Let's see. So this is, I think, probably the shortest way, is to just type the remedy name and hit the search button, one of these search buttons. You would hit this one if you're doing just a single search, and you would hit this one if you have previous searches that you don't want to lose and you want to add the search to a new tab. So just type the remedy name and it will give you all of the rubrics. So this is the shortest way that I have discovered in the program, that it will do that for you. And that's the fourth way to do it. So depending on where you are, and it's giving them to you from all the different repertories. So the bigger the remedy, obviously it will take longer to run that search. I picked a small remedy, and so the search comes up almost right away.
Roopali?
Yeah.
Thank you. Amber has asked to see the process of selecting specific rubrics in global search. And I think that includes the differentiation between finding the rubrics versus that search query, finding the materia medica information. People have to understand the difference.
Okay. So I'm going to clear out my global search because these are all remedy searches. And so you can do a global search here. And you can type, it depends. If you know you're looking for a rubric, then I usually tend to restrict my search and just do a repertory search. But, if you're not sure of what you're looking for, and so let's say somebody has trouble walking and you're looking for something along there, so let's say I'm looking for staggering, they're staggering while walking. So let's say I just type something really basic, and I run this as a search both in the repertory and in the reference library. So all I'm going to do is type that and hit enter. And you'll see that that word now is going to come up for all the different sections, for all the different repertories on the repertory tab. And then it's going to come up just that word as a search in reference library. And, this is not a very pointed search. It's not very defined. So we have 566 remedies that come up with 6,598 references. And on the repertory side, it's going to display the results by repertory, by section. So if you were really looking for something that pertains to walking, then, possibly you could look at the extremities section, you could look at generalities, and you will find all of the rubrics related to staggering. And so, that's really the rubric that I was thinking of. So you can, and it comes up at the top. And so let's say this is a different patient, you open a different clipboard, you're here, and you can add that one specific rubric from that repertory to your clipboard. And you can do the same thing. You can go down, you can search for other things. You can find, there's mind staggering from Robert's repertory, a repertory that I'm not super familiar with. or in FATAC, you can see, usually I associate staggering largely with walking issues. And so mostly they're all gait rubrics. But sometimes you can come across something new. So I do look at what else has come up. You know, Nair is very specific. And so he's got staggering in a lot of different sections, actually, male. So there's something here also related to gait, as you can see, but in combination. So Nair has more complete symptoms. So, you know, you'll see multiple things associated, but in eyes too, there's staggering. So you can, anyway, so you can pick specific rubrics from your repertory search and add them to your clipboard. The difference with the reference library search result is that you can't pick specific references. This search yielded basically a result with 566 remedies. So what you can do is you can take this entire search result and add it to your clipboard. So when I do that, if I add this, and it's, you can see it was grading the results. And so now when you come in here, you've got staggering with that search result of 566 remedies, and they are graded. So it comes across exactly like a rubric, but the entire search result will come as one rubric. So now if you have other aspects of the case and you want to do them as reference library searches, I mean, I've seen people just take different qualities of the case and run them as different reference library searches and keep adding them to their clipboard. So they have these sort of custom rubrics or reference library searches converted to rubrics in their clipboard and not actual rubrics from the repertory. So you can always do that. And that's the difference between selecting rubrics from your search result and adding them to the clipboard and adding your reference library search result and adding it to the clipboard. I hope that answers the question. I think that's what they were asking.
Yes, Amber said thank you.
Yeah, Amber. Yeah, yeah.
I have no other questions at this time. Maggie?
No, me neither.
Okay. Well, thank you for all your questions and your interest. If you have other questions that come to you later, please don't hesitate to send us an email like Josiane did, and we can always bring it up in the next. We can answer you right away, but we can also bring it up for everybody else's learning in the next training. The other thing, since this is sort of a more intermediate advanced group, is last week at the conference, there were homeopaths who had sent in cases that they were stuck with, and I picked 2 cases and I I read through the case and or an extract of the case, and then analyzed the case using the program in a couple different ways. And so I think it was very useful, and everybody found that they learned a lot of things that they, even people who had been using macrorepertory and synergy from the very beginning. So I think those are like very useful recordings, and I'm going to suggest them to the group that's attending today if you weren't already attending at the conference. And I think Lucy is planning to have those recordings up by later on, by the close of Friday here in the US. And so over the weekend and next week, they will be available on YouTube. So I would really urge you to look at those recordings as well, since they are complete cases that are presented and then analyzed through the program. And I think the first one is about an hour and hour and a bit, and the second one or hour and a half, and the second one is maybe about 45 minutes, the second case. So and then I look forward to seeing you all again at the next training session. Happy Friday. And thank you, Lucy and Maggie, for holding up the back end.
Thank you.
Hello. There we all are. Thank you, everyone. We
Thanks
really
so much.
appreciate you coming every other week for these training sessions. And just remember, no question is unworthy. You know, all questions are good questions, and we all learn from questions that are asked. And sometimes, you know, even the presenter finds out something new that they have not come across before. So bring your questions, and we'll see you next time. Happy Easter, happy Friday, happy weekend.